Hello everybody, this is FC7, and recently I had some people ask me to go through the AA window for necromancers and give my opinion on what people should buy, what people should be looking out for, and stuff like that. So I had some free time and I thought I would start. So your first focus should be on DPS. And the DPS AAs are Critical Affliction and Destructive Cascade. So we'll just look over in the Architect tab. Critical Affliction increases the chance your damage over time spells will deal critical damage. So this is probably the most important one overall. If I was making a new Necromancer, definitely work on Critical Affliction first. Now the second one is Destructive Cascade, and it's a little bit farther down. This passive ability increases the damage dealt by your critical dots by whatever. So basically this one increases the damage dealt by critical dots, and Critical Affliction increases that you have a critical dot. So those two kind of work together. Spellcast and Mastery, and that should be down here. This passive ability lowers the mana cost of all spells by 2, 5, 10, and 15%. This is super important if you want to keep your mana going. It's actually the third thing I'd work on is Spellcast and Mastery to keep the mana cost down. Now, the next thing I'd work on is some clickies. These are things that you press, they're activated AAs, and I would work on something called, maybe it's over in the Death Piece. So this ability provides you an alternative method to cast your Death Piece spell with an instant cast time, and this is probably the most important clicky you have, and I'll demonstrate it here. Let me just get that out here. So as you can see, you can instantly just feign death. So just bring this out. As you can see, there's no cast time, whereas if you actually use the Death Piece spell, there'd be like a 2-second cast time. So this is probably one of the most important ones. Okay, for this next one, I'm going to actually demonstrate it. Next one is Death's Effigy, and I will put it up on the screen. So Death's Effigy, when activated, allows you to execute a perfect feign death that gives you 90% chance that all level 108 and lower NPCs will forget about you. If you're out of immediate combat, this ability will also apply invisibility. So this is kind of like feign death, but kind of not. So I'm going to just demonstrate on this wolf. We'll get an ad or two. So there's 2 wolves after me now. Gets us another one. Okay, so I'm going to do regular Death Piece, but if I get back up, they'll come after me again. If I click Death's Effigy, they forget about me. So it's kind of like a Bard Fade, where you completely lose aggro, if you're familiar with that. Memnotic Retention, that should be in here. Okay, this passive ability grants you 1 additional spell slot, so you can memorize an additional spell per rank. So as you can see, I have 13 spell gems, and if you just start out, I believe you have 10, or maybe even less, maybe you have 8. So you'll need these extra spell slots. So definitely work on that one. Next thing I'd probably work on is Cloak of Shadows, which is something that helps you go invis. Let's see, Cloak of Shadows. Where are you? This ability allows you to become permanently invisible nearly at will without the need to memorize a spell. This basically replaces the old Cloak of Shadows, the item that Necros used to have. Okay, next on my list is Gift of Mana. That is located right here. Whenever you cast a spell that heals or harms someone, this passive ability grants you an innate chance for the next spell you cast within a specific range to only cost a single point of mana. This one is super important. It's a passive ability, and it has a bunch of ranks to it. So I have mine maxed, and this is actually the one I work on first when an expansion comes out, is Gift of Mana. Next up is Willful Death that I would work on. I'm listing these in order of what I think is the most important AAs, so I'll go through them all later, but Willful Death. This passive ability increases the likelihood that your feigned deaths will not be broken by spells. Back in the day, we used to have to worry about that when we were splitting mobs before this AA came out, because every time we would try to split a group of casters, they would just cast on us and break feigned death, so it was a huge problem. So that's a very important one to have. Next one would have to be Whisper Wind. This might be a little bit controversial, but I find it's hugely important if you're just traveling around and you want to save a little bit of time. This ability, when activated, teleports you a short distance forward. I'll show you how that works. So you just come back a little bit, press Whisper Wind, and you're instantly teleported forward. And it's useful because if you're going a long distance and you don't want to cast your mount, just press Whisper Wind, and then you just click Cloak of Shadows right away, and it's like you don't have to worry about re-invising yourself every time. Okay, so that's the top 10 list, but I thought I would mention a couple of other AAs that are really just as important, but really didn't make the list. First up is Encroaching Darkness and Basilian Paralysis. So I'll demonstrate Basilian Paralysis here. So you knock the mob backwards, and he's rooted for 3 minutes, and this is how you root rot. So he can't move for 3 minutes. And the other one is Encroaching Darkness, which is an instant cast snare. So I know there's a spell that does the same thing, but this one is way more important, and I'll demonstrate why. Let's say you get aggro on this guy. You can just click, instantly snare him, if he doesn't resist it. So that should just about do it. Any questions or comments, just leave them below. Thanks for watching.